technology has always been there, but it's only in the recent years that we've seen a flood of new technologies that are driving, or supposed to be driving, efficiencies and productivity improvements within the construction space. And so I have this panel of guys here, and we have represented a man who has many years in the construction industry space, now working for a developer. Miguel, thank you for joining us. On the other side, we have Daniel, who is working for a contractor, ACC. And stuck in the middle, we have Basel, who has 30 years experience. I'm sure it feels more like 50 years, but 30 years experience in the construction industry, who has interestingly made a shift from the contractor to working with a construction technology firm, and that being Wakecap. And so I'm very curious to understand and discuss something, okay, with all of you. And my one question for you today is, what is the value that you're seeing today of new technologies in your space? So let's go first to Daniel. As a contractor, Daniel, what are you seeing as the value of new construction technologies? And if you have some use cases to discuss, we have some time, but what values are technologies bringing to you today?
Well, I will answer as first, I'm the corporate HR director, so I will take more the view of with people, what impact on people. So basically, my role when I was ours first was not to manage the visa, operational of HR. They still wanted me to reduce the costs in the operations. We had something like 32,000 employees. And as an example, on Dubai Island project we have in Abu Dhabi, we have close to 3,000 employees on site. So how can we mix the technology? My CMPN, they were aware of new technology. The problem in construction is they have a little bit high level of resistance to technologies. They don't see what's really in it for them. They say it's not really a complexity, is in the day-to-day of the operations, if we're not able to see the real advantage, the level of resistance will be quite high. So basically, we try to bring software technology which will have a direct impact on what they're doing. So with the technology we put in place with Wakecap, with monitoring the time where are each employees during any time during the day and with who they work with, it was an example of a soft technology which brings something really a direct impact on the way they plan their manpowers. So they didn't have to get really knowledgeable in terms of technology. All they have is to use it. So my role is to make sure to reduce the level of resistance, to introduce the new technology in terms of with the foreman, the way they do, not the foreman, the site section engineer, the way they do the planning of work, but directly do the planning of work translate into the way they distribute the work with the employees. So with Wakecap, we're able to do the link between the planning and the way they distribute the work. Because site engineer could, in terms of cost control, they may decide we want that work to be done today, but often what we realize with the data, we're able to see, well, that was the plan, and when you take a look at data with foreman, they say, well, it's not what we do. We decided to send the employees there and there. Yeah, there's a planning work, but the reality is what we do is different than the planning. So we were able to see, wow, there's a big gap between the plan work and what the foreman is doing at the end of the day.
And I guess in the past, you have a plan and you execute the construction phase, but it might be a longer period of time, 1 month, before you actually realize that you're on plan or you've accomplished what the plan was set out to do?
What's interesting is we never realize we're not on plan. Because the person, the cost control who gives you the results, the way they massage the data, it gives you the impression they were on plan. But when you take a look at the timekeeper, and we take a look at the data now we have, that what it's interesting, those employees, they claim so many hours. In reality, they were not even there. Because basically, they do it randomly. It was a cost control approach. Now we're able to know which employee has done the work, and was this supposed to be there. Up to 2 months ago, we're not able to say if the plan matched really what the employees were supposed to do.
So
and which is an
the technology is providing the verification in a real time.
It gives you the reality versus the plan. And the site section engineers and the CMPM, they find it interesting to know how come we plan like this and the work's done is like that. Why there's a gap? Was it because the material was not delivered? Something happened between yesterday plan. We're planning the night before. We're not planning, yes, in a month plan ahead, the weekly, but the reality is the night before. And we realize there is significant gap. Why there's a gap? Now we could ask a question, guys, without criticizing. The foreman has good intention, but in his mind, he's been given contradictory activities compared to the plan work. So we're able to know, ask the right question, why there is a gap, and we have to work together, guys. We want to do that, but we're doing that.
Miguel, I'd like to shift over to you. I know you have tremendous experience in the construction sector, working with B6, but you recently made a shift to work with Emaar. Maybe you could just share a little bit of this journey for us.
It has been quite an interesting shift from working 20 years in construction and moving to the real estate sector, where we mainly deal with the construction companies and are embedded within the construction operation. And when you were talking about how do you see the value of technology within the operation, in strategy, we talk a lot about the value stick, being the value, the difference between the cost and the willingness to pay. While, through technology, we are able to increase it, to increase the value stick, to increase the value stick in both ends. On one hand, it allows us to improve efficiency by optimizing our operation. And in this sense, Wakecap and many other technologies allow us to have an optimal operation when we are able to change management, to have a change management process which is efficient. On the other hand, technologies allow us to give better products to our customers. And once we give better products to our customers, we increase their willingness to pay. And with an increased willingness to pay and a reduced cost, naturally, everyone wins because the value stick is stronger for every part in the game. And in this aspect, in my past experience with Wakecap, it was quite a rewarding experience because we managed to optimize substantially our operation simply by knowing where the workforce was, analyzing the data, and taking decisions in order to maximize the usage of the available resources. And with that, we naturally give the impression to our customers that we have an organized operation and we are predictable, because at the end of the day, what do developers look for when a contractor is hired? Basically, we look for cost and we look for certainty. Because the design is there, we just need the project to be delivered on time and on schedule and with quality. And once we have tools to manage the lower end of the bottom of the value stick, naturally our willingness to pay increases.
Now you were working with B6 on the DUT tower, which is impressively being built. I mean, it's wonderful to see a tower that doesn't have facade window holes. You know, it's the whole thing's just gone ahead very beautifully. And it's moved ahead quickly. On that particular side, you instigated the implementation of several technologies. From your experience, how did that help drive the efficiencies of the overall site?
Benoit is in the audience. And this is all not. This is not only sunshines and rainbows. We had many challenges. That tower was a fantastic exercise. In fact, we have used technologies on the manpower tracking, on the activity tracking, and as well on the logistic operation. We still didn't manage to get to a point to consolidate the several tools across an ecosystem. I believe that will be the future. We've concentrated ourselves into resolving silos of problems we had, which was the manpower tracking and the efficient resource management. The same with logistics and the same with activity tracking. And once we started monitoring and transforming data into information, we were able to transform information into good decisions to improve the operation. The biggest challenge among all this was change management. How do we change the people's mentality to move from the standard, flexible, and commonly used Excel and timesheets into a platform where data analytics provides you valuable information to have an optimal operation. That is the biggest challenge, is to get the platform, which is to have already an MVP, then to develop it, to tailor it, and to use it, and even more challenging than that is to keep using it. Because people change, projects change. I've moved from P6 to Emaar, and now the challenge is to have someone else to carry on what we've done and not let it die. That is one of the biggest challenges.
Okay, to keep that ball rolling within the company, but now you're working
to keep
for
on
Emaar.
improving.
Now you're working for the client who normally bashes you on the head. You've now become the basher. You know, you're the one that's driving the success of the project. If you were to put on your helmet or hat now as a developer, as the client, where do you see the value for you as the client that your supplier, the construction company, if they have technologies and if they have efficiencies and if they're monitoring all those things that you were monitoring before at B6, what value does that bring to you as a developer of the project?
First, let me tell you, contractors are very wild animals.
You can say that now, right?
I can say that now, yeah. So the contractors are not easy to manage. And for a developer like Emaar, that works with several contractors coming from several origins, with very diverse levels of organization, is very challenging to have everyone on the same level as P6, as ACC, and so on. So because we deal with, we have different types of projects and we deal with different types of contractors. As we recently went through the Emaar Sustainability and Construction Innovation Challenge, where Wakecap was one of the finalists as well, we are trying to implement and to convince our contractors to implement more and more technologies that allow us to have a more consolidated and efficient operation. Because helping them to become efficient, it's helping us to have a predictable operation and to have certainty on when do we hand over our product to our customers without the massive delays which are driven by a poorly organized operation, which is sometimes the case. So we have to educate everyone. We need to educate contractors, we need to educate consultants, we need to educate developers as well, and we need to educate customers that there's so much more that we have to give them. But we always have to have the customer at the top of our priority, because customers drive everything. And if we deliver to them the right product with the right quality, at the right price, at the right time, we have customers coming to Dubai from all over the world to keep on boosting our real estate. If we are not predictable and if we don't deliver on time, our investors run away.
Very good. I want to go over to Basel because you've had 50 years of, not really 50, how many years? 30?
30 years.
30, that's right, it
Not that
feels
old.
like 50, right? 30 years of construction industry experience, working in controls, working in systems management for a leading construction company, and yet late in your career you've made a shift to now working with Wakecap. I'm curious to understand why.
The main challenges that was always impacting us are two challenges, as been mentioned: change management, and the second one, which is still persisting, is to how to get the right information at the low level of details that you need it in a way to detect cases and do proper analysis, and how to have it on time. The first challenge, you can dilute it through knowledge management, lessons learned, shifting the knowledge from project to another, and so on. But the second challenge, it needs high-tech tools in order to control or to track what's happening at site. Your target is to retrieve the information at the right time, not after the fact. And to, as I mentioned, to have it at a low level of detail. I've tried RFID, proximity, digital pens, handhelds, laser scanning, photogrammetry, drones, you name it. The most effective topic was the IOT for me. And it happened that maybe for around 5 years with Wakecap, from a customer perspective, I've been assigned to direct the implementation of that topic within the company and how to integrate it within the company. I still remember the minutes that our head was asking about the IOT conditions, what we want from Wakecap. We want a tool which is without human intervention. We want a tool without building mesh in a dynamic environment like construction. We want a tool that will give me low level of detail. And I want it to be able to stream the data to me and to be able to host it in the cloud in order to integrate it with our systems. This is why now I can see that the new journey coming is to build relations with potential customers and agree on how to implement the project controls in a way integrated with the data streaming out of the site, and to be able to detect the cases, detect the problems that it may affect your control subjects, link it to the cost control, to the progress monitoring, to the quality, detect the level of supervision. We did a couple of projects with Wakecap at that time, and I was surprised with many issues, especially the level of supervision and the logistics, and how you can have so easily building queues of laborers wasting time away from the subject that is supposed to be around, and so on. How to link it to the advanced work packaging, for example. The end result of these methodologies is the work order. And that work order is a way to give you a hint about the location of the operation that those crews are supposed to be there. You can detect if they are really around that subject, they have their hands on tools, or they are busy in other subjects like logistics, or like the accessibility, and many other issues. So for me, the IoT subject is a new journey to build this relation between the site and the office, and to do better controls.
I'm excited because the last few years we've seen a lot of development in technology. Where do you see the future for us, Daniel? What is it that you want to see from new technologies that will help you in your business today?
Well, I will see it's probably the meaning of data. I think we're still today at a stage where we do provide data. Data for data is, we need to have data has to be much more meaningful to them. It's more than just data intelligence. It's the selection of data. This data has to say a story to the person who reads it. And I think we start to see good technology. We're moving there slowly. But again, it's a little bit of change management. And we have to be careful. So where we're going with that, I think you see more and more soft technology bringing data intelligence in a way where the person receiving it could digest it and do something with it, bring an answer to something. I've seen it often in HR. We send data to reports and, okay, they received it, but it's not well, there's no story behind it.
So we're collecting the data, but we need to analyze the data.
Often
to
the
bring,
data is the
value.
person who understands the data is the person who sent it. It's probably the only person interested in the data. The person who received it, well, what's that? You know, and they're not telling you because they don't have an argument, but they don't really know why you're sending the data, what me to do with it. Because the data it's not really intelligent data, not meaningful. They may select a little bit out of it, but they don't know what to do with it. So we try to, with Wakecap, try to make it really practical. And I think we see it slowly, technology coming in to the level which is well adapted to the CM, the PM, and be able to even talk to the clients. So it's become more useful than in the past.
You know, in Saudi Arabia, we're seeing many clients mandating or specifying certain technologies on their projects, and that may be something of the future. Miguel, what do you see for the future in this technology connection, construction industry, client relationships? Where do you see this going today?
It can only go better because we are so far behind every other industry. When we look at the future, and we could already see that on the McKinsey reports from 2014 and 2017, we should move through digital twins, off-site construction, smart procurement systems. But that all starts from having sustainable designs, which are derived from lessons learned that allow us then to have efficient operations and allow us to build modular construction. And with that, Emaar is working with a number of players, including Alec, on modular construction as well. And as we move to modular construction, applying smart procurement systems allows us to have a seamless operation, an efficient operation. If together with that, we manage through IOT to gather the right data, to structure the data efficiently in order to be able to use it, we will move towards a much more sustainable real estate industry with good design, with a sustainable procurement operation that avoids waste, that uses the right materials and the right amount of materials. A good example of this is the effort we made now with the optimization of the Dubai building codes, where we reduced massively the usage of carbon by reducing the steel and the concrete used on the buildings. That is a massive improvement in terms of saving of resources. And that came through a smart design approach where we use what's needed and not beyond that, by bringing all the engineers to the table in order to optimize the whole process. Together with all that, I believe we'll be able to deliver much more for much less. And have all the stakeholders happier than today.
Working for the client, you expect much less.
Working for the client, I expect much more, because I expect a reasonable cost for a reasonable price in order to be able to offer a product to my client at a reasonable cost for them. Because the more we optimize cost, the more we will be able to develop. And the more the more customers will be able to satisfy. So that's a win-win-win-win-win for everyone.
It's interesting. Cutting cost and optimizing cost two different subjects. You know, we can put pressure on to cut cost, and the contractor is looking ways then to cut the cost, but we all understand that cutting cost affects quality, right? As we close, I would love you to add some comment on this, because I know it's a subject that's very passionate to your heart. Does technology improve the quality of our construction today?
Yeah, big time, for sure. Frankly, to organize the people at site is an issue. And if you let your crew work in sequence and in laminar workflow, that means your key persons at site, they work in a proper way, and they don't suffer from jumping from place to another. This for sure will improve the quality. In addition, you need to build this communication tool in between the construction team and the quality team in order to speed up response time. And you need to assure that those quality officers, they really attended and they witnessed the work at the right time. Sometimes it happened after the fact, and the paperwork is not always accurate. In addition, you need to build this knowledge in between QC officers, not only QC, and even the safety officers and the construction team and the office. So you need, like, my dream, frankly, in regards to these IoT tools, is to have like a framework and standards, and to build like a profile for different stakeholders within the contractors' teams and with the project stakeholders. My dream is to have like streamed data to a cloud and a way to manipulate this information, like the process you do with big data, in order to be ready to be reflected to different profiles, and to be flexible in a way that will allow interface or integrated with the stakeholder systems. So in regards to QC, yes, the level of supervision, how to detect that, and how to build the relation between QC and construction, how to enhance the communication is a big issue.